what's good, family? This is DivineProspect of Kingdom Harbinger Ministries. I got two powerful brothers here. I got my boy Tranquil here on the right, and I got my boy Vin here on the left. And we out here at Marcus Garvey Park. The weather is nice, a little wind out and everything like that. We were sitting here having a great bill on various different subject matters, etc. But what we're going to address today, we're going to touch on a little bit of science today, because these are two people that are part of my research team, right? If you don't know these brothers, you don't need to know. So I'm trying to keep their stuff, you know what I'm saying, on the low until we really bring it out. Now, I'm still considering doing the conference on August 2nd. I can't guarantee people that I will do it or not. My team wants me to do it, so maybe I'll still do it or not. If not, then maybe I'll draft one of them. You never know. We'll see what happens. But we're going to talk on a couple things right now. We want to give y'all too much, but we want to get your juices flowing so that way y'all can show up and support the Hebrew Israelite community on August 2nd when we in the building. So I'm going to start first with Tranquil on my right, and then I'm going to go to Vin. And I want to ask Tranquil a question. This brother right here is a great researcher, man. He's been hitting me up. Don't listen to him. He's being humble today. He hit me up on Facebook not too long ago. Me and him had a great bill, and the brother just continuously just sends me like mad. I'm like, how does brother have enough time to sit there and get all this material? He be getting me EPUB articles and PDFs and links and everything. So I want to ask him a question in regards to this science conference, which is creation versus evolution, and who is God, what is God, where did God come from, and you know, science versus mythology is how they kind of coin it. What I want to ask my boy Tranquil is sending me all of this research. Let me ask you a question, Tranquil.
Sir.
What do you think is the agenda for the conscious community? Not everybody, but some of the teachers in the conscious community pushing this evolutionary theory. What do you think is the ultimate agenda for the black conscious community, some leaders in the community pushing this evolution agenda? Because some of them don't subscribe to it, but prominent ones do. What do you think is the agenda, my brother?
Well, we have to address exactly what that theory is, right? Because when you say evolution, it has multiple definitions, you know. Are we talking about adaptation? Are we talking about change over time? Or are we talking about species becoming a totally different species in time? Now, when it comes to adaptation, most of us don't have a problem with that, you know, or just the simple concept of change over time. All things change over time. The issue we have with evolution is the idea that life came from nothing. And somehow, through a various array of consistent accidents, we're here. That's the issue we have.
Uncoordinated accidents.
That's Moore's law right there.
Just came to be, you know what I'm saying?
It's consistently hitting the lottery for 3.8 billion years.
90 days.
You know what I mean? That's an amazing winning streak. You know? And the problem isn't a lack of knowledge. It's we're both looking at the same data. And the problem isn't the data. We both agree what the data says. It's the worldview in which we interpret the data. You know, those of us who are believers, you know, we believe that an intelligent designer created everything that we see, as opposed to mere random chance. Now, those who prescribe to that, there's definite philosophical ramifications for it. Because if everything is random and by chance, and we're nothing more than just chemicals fizzing in flesh costumes, then we can't talk about right and wrong.
There you go.
You know?
There's no objectivity.
I could punch him in his face, he won't like it, but then he can't say I'm wrong in doing it.
And it was random.
It might happen again. Someone
there you
else.
go. Hey, and we can't give nobody accountability because it was random.
So that's a serious problem. So with pushing that particular agenda, you're also pushing out morality. And in fact, you're also pushing out science. Because you can't do science unless these laws are fixed.
There you go.
You know, and the funny thing is, you can't prove that gravity will continue 5 minutes from now.
If it's random.
If it's random. It might not happen. You know, so you can't even you can't even ask for proof. You can't even ask for proof if you live in a random occurring universe.
There you go.
Because if I wanted, let's say I want to test water, and I want to know at what temperature water burns, right? I got to use a flame, a beaker, you know. But that's me already assuming that when I put on the flame, fire will come out instead of potpourri. right?
That's true.
Because in a random occurring universe, anything can happen. So I
Exactly.
can't even do any experimentation.
Exactly. So
I
they
can't.
borrow from our worldview
Right.
to make sense out of theirs.
They sit on God's lap to yank his beard.
There you go.
You know what I mean?
There
So
you go.
That's the agenda is to remove morality, and to remove, accountability.
There you go.
That's the two things I see. Like, if you subscribe to that particular philosophy, you can no longer ascribe
Say
to
that again.
morality.
Philosophy.
Philosophy.
There
It's
you go.
philosophy.
Great word.
It's a
That's
way
what
of
it is.
thinking.
There you go.
And
There you go.
the Darwinian evolution is a philosophy.
It is.
It is mythology.
Oh,
It really is, because you can't observe myths.
there you go.
You can't.
There you go.
So all we're doing is educated guesses at best.
And you stuck with theories at the end of the day.
That's it.
So, transitioning to you, Vin. First of all, I think that was a great explanation right there. So we're gonna get this thing rolling. So, Vin, I have a question for you, Vin. If what they're saying is true in regards to evolution, that everything came from a point of singularity and to what it is today through random occurrences, right? Because we know that when the Big Bang happened, you get helium and you get hydrogen, which is the two simplest elements in regards to the periodic table. But then they said using stars is how you got fusion with iron and other elements, etc. My question for you is, what issue would they have in regards to energy, talking about thermal decay? What issue do they run in when we deal with the subject matter of thermal decay in regards to the singularity theory of everything just bursting out and randomly occurring? How does thermal decay interfere with that particular disposition? They said that everything came from a point of singularity that exploded. We don't know where the energy came from.
Right.
I don't know where it came from. They can't answer that. But whatever the causal agent was, when everything sprung into the way it was occurring from that random incident, we had periodic tables starting with helium and hydrogen being that's the lightest item.
You can't.
Fuse past iron because you lose energy.
Right, so where did all these other higher elements come from? And that's a problem that they have to explain. Cosmological evolution, that's a thing that's almost impossible for them, because they would have to explain why there's only something like 300 supernovas that they can see. If the universe was that old, why would there only be 300 supernovas? It doesn't make sense. Another problem that they have is that you can't tell when a star is being born from when it's dying. There's no way for you, you know what I mean? There's no way for you to determine.
So what about when they talk about this multiverse theory, they try and explain as being a causal agent for our current universe?
Right, that's them trying to use the current information of understanding that consciousness of the observer affects the reality. They're still trying to keep that randomness formula within the playing field, because with a multiple or string theory is what you're talking about, as soon as you're getting at it, that leaves the possibility for any and all things to happen. You got to remember, you're dealing with a universe that's built off of information, so everything is already pre-coded into how it's going to operate. Technically there's no randomness.
If they said that the universe is infinite and there's multiple universes,
Right.
they would run into the problem of infinite regression.
Right.
Because if everything is eternal and this universe is always here, that means you don't have really a concept of time and things will never get started.
Right.
So the reason why I'm bringing this up is because these are just simple things that they have yet to address in regards to the cosmological argument. Now I say this because we are able to see the distance between stars.
Right.
They have what's called a Doppler effect, which where you get the redshift by looking to see the spectrum of light to be able to determine how far away certain galaxies are from one another. They use this model to say that the universe is expanding. They have the expanding universe theory, right? My question is this. My question is, initially when science, so-called science, first started, and they were trying to figure out, properties of the universe, such as the distance from us to, let's say, the moon, or just from us to the stars. The question I have in regards to evolution is, how are they able to depict things such as an eclipse, right? Or determine an eclipse when everything is random? Can you be able to time an eclipse if everything is random? And I say that because all of these years that they're using, all of these scientific methods to distinguish how far we are from the sun, the elliptical course from the Earth around the sun, the moon, and its torque on the Earth itself and its gravitational pull. In regards to something as simple as a solar eclipse, and mankind has been able to detect this for years. Years. Ancient, if you go to ancient documents and ancient civilizations, they have also been able to predict when eclipses occur. That movie, what's that movie that Mel Gibson did about the Apocalypto? When the eclipse happened and he made it seem like he caused it and that people was going crazy. But when you look at the Mayan calendar, calendrical system, it's based on how the heavenly bodies move. If you have nothing but randomness, tell me, how is it possible that they can be able to detect an eclipse? Anybody can answer
science
this.
Science is at the mercy of predictability. You cannot do science without the universe being predictable. Because the whole concept is, I believe this will occur. But if it doesn't occur, then I can observe it. If I can observe it, I can't make any kind of conclusion.
Well, think about it even by definition of the word. Science is what? By definition?
I would say the branch of knowledge.
Right. Knowledge is the exact opposite of chaos. That's like saying that cacophony makes good music. Cacophony is the opposite of music. Music is structure. Cacophony is just like static, random noise. You understand what I'm saying? So they're polar opposites. And you got to understand that this universe and the way that the creator teaches you is based off of polarity. So you have to learn how to balance everything. You understand what I'm saying? The whole book of Ecclesiastes is about that. There's a time for this, there's a time for that. You gotta learn what this universe or this realm of reality and the perspective the sandbox is about.
Well, let me ask you a question. Do they have evidence in regards to the evolution of Homo sapiens sapiens? Let's say Homo sapiens sapiens. Is there any evidence that they have that we have physically evolved from a common ancestor 5 to 8 million years ago with the great apes? Is there any physical, if we was to have a dialogue with somebody who believes in evolution, can they produce us something that would validate their position?
Absolutely not. They have no one that they do put forth now has already been disproved. So, I'm not gonna name somebody, but I already know a brother that's been throwing a couple of those fake fossils out. Just let you know, some of them are like
Go down, man.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like some of those are like I give you an example. They built up a whole like a museum monument of this clay figure, and it was built up off a tooth, but the tooth didn't even belong to the creature that it said it belonged to a pig.
Wow.
You understand what I'm saying?
That, yeah.
So you built up a whole and they put it in a museum, these nice little sculptures, and then the only thing that's actually real or a fossil about the actual structure is the one tooth. And it didn't even belong to the entity that it's claiming it belonged to.
So here's my question. Even with that information, are you guys familiar with Britain funding Darwinism and evolution? Do y'all have any information in regards to that? And I say that because if the purpose of doing that was to justify genocide, eugenics, survival of the fittest, because you know, and he had a team that assisted him. One in particular who was more able to convey. Ernst, there you go. There you go. Now look. There you go. Now my question is this. During that time, we know that England was expanding as an empire through imperialism, colonization, etc. They needed some validation for the atrocities that they were committing on indigenous people. If they can give a scientific model that shows that life is about the survival. This theory was created by science in order to exterminate indigenous people and justify it scientifically. How do you think this is impacting our Black and Hispanic communities when we have people that teach and perpetuate the same exact doctrine in the community?
All we gotta do is look at our present education system to see that. Because Black history starts with what? Slavery. That's your origin, basically.
There you go.
You were in chains. So if you're starting from that, you're starting from the deficit automatically. So of course you're not gonna have any self-worth because it's like my great-great-granddad was in chains. You know what I mean? So,
or even if you think about it in terms of the topic that we're talking about, evolution, you take away not only objective moral credibility but knowledge of self. And that's why I feel like this conference is the most important, because the Torah is a book that teaches you about how to manage your lower self and your ego, how to get your lower two chakras, your base man, animal man in check, so that you can elevate or cross over into that higher man or higher self. That's when you trust in the Most High Yah, or the Supreme Creator, above yourself. You understand? That's how you become a cell within the body of the nation of Israel. So now that we're realizing these things, we have to attack premises like common ancestor theory, because that shapes how you answer the 4 fundamental questions of life. You understand? And your whole scope on your self-worth, if you don't understand that you're much more than this vessel, then you're already losing half the battle. So you see a lot of the fainted sons of the Most High, they're sitting out on the street corners because they don't understand, they don't have the knowledge of self to understand that they're a creator, they're a God. The pop lock dance moves that they do, the freestyles that we engage in on the corner, that's all creating things. You're a creator. You have to understand there are certain people on this planet who are replicators. They cannot create, so they need you. But you gotta understand you don't need them. You understand? I'll give you an example. The NBA is full of all black basketball players. Why don't we turn the NBA into the ABA? You understand? And bring the ABA back, and then we just have black owners.
Exactly.
And cut the middleman out the way.
Exactly.
Think about it. Come on, guys.
And I don't think those who are proponents of evolution don't understand the philosophy properly. Because it's an ancient one that goes back to even to the Hindu faith.
That's where he borrowed some of it from. The caste system, right?
The caste system, where the final evolution of the male is the most superior one.
Exactly.
So what Hitler did was took that and used that as reasoning for the final solution. Like he made his own artificial natural selection. Like these particular group of people are the reason why we have all these social ills. So if we get rid of this particular group of people, we'll do better.
And he even created a chart.
Right.
And at the chart, he had the Aryans at the top of the chart, and the so-called Jews at the bottom of the chart. Then he had the Asians, the Negroes, etc.
No, go ahead.
And
I ain't gonna cut you.
one of the people that really inspired him was Ernst Haeckel.
There you go.
I was gonna say another one of the things is I have a feeling that Hitler understood who the actual true Jews were, his disdain for black people. But he had a disdain for his own people, because remember, he was Jewish himself.
Right.
Yeah.
I believe he was related to a Rothschild or a Rothschild just directly. And I think he was upset that they were taking on a heritage of a people, of a culture that did not belong to them, belonged to some smelly niggas. This is their culture. You guys belong to the sons of the fallen ones, these fallen angels. And this is the same concept of this evolution. This whole evolution scheme is going to lead into a great deception that's coming, so a lot of people are aware of it. I don't know if you want me to touch base on that.
And also, just with the whole thing that you brought up about the value of a human being, and how it was justified in the Constitution that melanated people were 3/5 of a man.
Right.
It's like, where did that justification come from? But from that philosophy of evolution. The Dred Scott case. No, you don't have any rights because you're really just cargo. You're property.
Even today, it's the same thing. You got to remember, you're a 14th Amendment citizen. So even on top of that, you have white people here who are citizens, but they're not sovereigns. You have the higher class white people who are sovereigns. So understand that this whole thing is a divide and conquer shakedown. But the main thing is to keep you Israelites down here. That they have to keep you in subjectivity. Anyhow you latch on to any type of information that's objective, aka your Torah, your scriptures, it's a wrap for them. The game begins to unravel for them.
So let me ask you a question. So if they were to say, well, we know that evolution is correct because we have a scientific model for it, and it's also being taught in universities and schools. If they were to use that type of argument, how would y'all address it?
Well, my first question is, what kind of science are we talking about? Are we talking about operational science? Or are we talking about origin science? Because operational science is observable science, right? I saw this, therefore it must be like that because I saw it happen. Hard science. Origin science is, we think this is what occurred back then.
Exactly.
I'm guessing. Evolution is not operational. Yes, you know what I mean? So like, and they like to confuse the two. They're like, no, you know, because you guys are anti-science. Like, we're not anti-science.
Exactly.
We know what science is.
There you go.
And you, for some reason, don't. You know?
They utilize something. This is my problem with evolutionists along the Darwinian lines. Is they use something called the free rider technique. So what that is like my man was bringing up variability, difference. Like you have a dog, right? There's different types of dogs. You got dogs, red fur, tan fur, black fur, brown fur. You got medium dogs, small dogs. There's still that can never happen. Mutations do not cause beneficial additions. You lose information, and it scrambles information that's already there. There's no added information coming into the fray. So there's no way you're going to tell me.
So there's no X-Men?
Right.
Right.
You're not going to tell me that.
Because you should evolve by now, right?
You know what I mean? Where's my powers?
You're not going to tell me that an ape used to have tails, and now the coccyx is the remainder of a tail that doesn't exist, and that's a vestigial appendage, or whatever excuse they use. If you study human anatomy, your coccyx is responsible for a lot of the motor functions. Like, you're not going to be able to sit down and use a bathroom without that thing.
Exactly. It has muscles attached to it.
Right. What brought up was the whales and the hip bones, and he was saying something that those used to be like, no, those have to do with their sexual organs. The same thing with the snake. It's not a hind. You got to study the anatomy. So it's, remember, science is fragmented. So if you're this one dude is in this scientific field, he has to go and talk to another dude in that's totally different scientific field to make sure that the information matches
What
up.
about when they say, and I'm gonna say this and then have y'all give your final remarks. But what about when they say, okay, well, we have proof of evolution. If we take a petri dish, put the agar fluid on there, a medium, and we grow microorganisms, let's say any kind of bacteria, and they say over hundreds of thousands of various replications, we're able to see the bacteria evolving, right?
Right, that's the only question you gotta ask.
That's a great, and this is what they say, evolving, because they would say that, for example, they'll say that resistance, they'll say for example, they'll say, well, there's resistance, or MDR, resistance against antibiotics. And this is proof that the bacteria is evolving, right? Now, when we look at antibiotics, we understand that they work on the cell wall of the protein on the cell wall of the bacteria. And certain bacteria that lack that protein, the antibiotic cannot hook into it and rupture the cell wall to kill off the bacteria. But they will say that no, this is proof of evolution because the way it's adapting gives us evidence that given enough millions of years, it will actually evolve into a more multi-celled organism.
I mean, that's example of, I think, of modification from descent. Like when they talk about natural selection, yeah. I mean, another example is 1% of all Anglo-Saxons that live in the world are actually can resist the AIDS virus. Because those Anglo-Saxons' heritage come from Europe when they survived the plague. So those survivors have that natural resistance. But would you say they evolved?
That's epigenetics. That's not the thing too.
I mean, it's evolved in the sense that change over time, they can resist that particular strain.
So are they superhumans now? That's the next question, right?
That's like saying because you have sickle cell that you can't get certain disease. That's stupid. That's like saying, all right, if I chop off both my hands, I can't get locked up. Can't get arrested. That's not an advantage, man. That's situational. So you have to understand, what it is that you're really saying and put forth.
And I say the same thing. I said, listen, if they ever are able to create abiogenesis in a lab, I said all that will say is that you need intelligent life to make life.
Create a grain of sand out of nothing.
In vitro now, not in vivo. We don't see this in the wild, but in the lab you was able, just like when they came up with these particle accelerators and was able to discover what the God particle is, etc. These are things based on colliding particles in a freaking lab. That's what I'm saying. Now that means that an intelligent mind is accelerating these particles to create these results. So you would take some degree of consciousness to be able to do it in vivo on a universal scale in the universe. I mean, am I crazy or come on? I mean, really?
They're stubborn. But see, look, this is what common ancestor theory does to you philosophically. Is you begin to become a materialist, a humanist, a relativist. You understand? That's the most important part. Is we live in a world where truth is considered hate and it's offensive, and that people are more comfortable with relativism. So you know what I mean? If Divine says the sky is red and I say the sky is blue, we don't debate over it. We're both right. That doesn't make any sense. You can't be afraid. That's the whole point of living in this dichotomous world. The two polarities, they go against each other in order to teach you what both are about. You wouldn't understand what up is without knowledge of what down is. You wouldn't understand what joy is without experiencing pain. This is just the nature of this reality and this experience.
And that's another side effect of the philosophy of evolution. There is no absolute truth.
No objectivity. There's only subjectivity.
None.
There you go.
That's a danger. That when you move into a world like that, look at the world around you. Look at what it's becoming.
There's no truth in that same argument.
Exactly.
You know,
to justify
I have
anything.
a proclivity in killing 4-year-olds. Right. But I'm genetically predisposed.
There you go. You can't get mad at me. It's not my fault.
Right.
So,
That's a slippery slope of relativism. When these are all concepts and philosophies that stem out of common ancestor theory. You begin to lose the moral fabric of any type of society that we know to be civil.
Right.
It's no longer this that we live in right now, like America, is not civilization. That's what people have to realize.
And we didn't even touch about the fossil record.
Nah, we're not going to say nothing yet. So this is what I'm going to do with you guys, right? Great build. I'm going to go with Vin this time. Vin, give us your final remarks in regards to science, what you want to say to the people, something that they should know in regards to science, and our position in the Hebrew Israelite community in regards to maybe morality or why evolution is not good for us, etc. Give us some final remarks, and I'm going to go over to Tranquil.
All right, well, at least just based on the scripture itself, it's almost polar opposite to what evolution is presenting you. Like, for instance, in the Bible, it will tell you the sun was created, or there was light before the sun. You understand what I'm saying? Evolution will tell you something different. You know, the sun was created, and then there were plants, and something like that. But the scriptures is different. There were plants before that. You begin to start to understand science. It's talking about photons. And you know, it's talking about quantum mechanics and things of this nature. This is why science is important for us to get a grip of. Because the things that are coming in this world and the information that's coming out, and the way that it's coming out as quick as it's coming out, you need to be able to apply the scriptures to the sciences so that you can maintain your relevance and be the body of Yasharah or Israel that you're supposed to be, the beacon of light onto the other nations. And the one way to do it is science, because that's a universal language and a universal knowledge that all people need and all people can relate to. You know, we can argue about trivial things like history, but in all honesty, you know, science is the thing that's going to help us the most to reach other people. And I feel like, you know, especially quantum mechanics and the higher sciences we're getting into today, you're at an advantage if you're studying, especially, you know, Genesis and Book of Enoch. You're at an advantage if you're studying those things. We're in that age, man.
Awesome. And you, Tranquil, anything you want to end off with?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely hope that Divine changes his mind and does the conference, because I just need people to know that those of us who believe in the Most High, we're not against science. Because that's the thing that they're throwing on us, that somehow we're anti-science, that we have this campaign against anti-intellectualism, you know what I mean? And it's like, that's not the case. We definitely believe in observing and experimenting, because that helps us understand our Creator that much more. And Paul makes that same point in Romans chapter 1, verse 18. He says, the wrath of God is being revealed from heaven against all the godlessness and wickedness of people who suppress the truth by their wickedness, since what may be known about God is plain to them, because God has made it plain to them. For since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, his eternal power and divine nature, has been clearly seen, being understood from what has been made, so that people are without excuse. And that's the main point that we have, is if you look at science, it should convict you with the fact that there is an intelligent force, not the opposite.
Can I drop a cool gem on them?
Sure.
Just want to drop one.
Enough on this.
Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Science, Herbert Spencer's law. You need 5 fundamental attributes for the universe to come into existence that had to come about simultaneously. Time, space, matter, force, and motion. All 5 of those are present in Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, indicating time. God, that's force, created. When you create something, that's motion. The heavens, that's space, and the earth, that's matter. All 5 of those things are in Genesis 1:1. So you have to explain to me, if the book is not really what it is, you have to explain to me how concepts like this are riddled all throughout the book. And I can show you many more just like that. So.
Awesome. So I want to say that we had a great build, family, and if you want to see more of these two brothers and you think you got something now, even up to the conference or after the conference, we're going to be dropping some more heavy science on y'all. Subscribe down below. How can they reach you, Tranquil? If the people want some more information, because this brother's a great researcher and Vin is like a scientific mad science, but how can they reach you, brother?
You can at me at Twitter. It's Tranquil with 2 L's at twitter.com. That's all I got.
Oh, that's okay. So can they reach you via email too? Or?
Oh yeah. I forgot about that. Tranquil again with 2 L's, the number 7 at yahoo.com.
Okay, cool. How can they reach you, Vin? The people, Instagram, Facebook, email. How can they reach you, Vin?
You can reach me on Instagram. It's Martin Luther DA, and it's 3 I's. Martin Luther DA 3 I's. Or you can email me. The email is vlindo VLINDO10@gmail.com. So if you got any questions or you want to build, I'm all up for it.
Yes, and definitely hit these brothers up, pick their brains, because they got a lot of good info. We out here representing the Hebrew Israelite community, so all praises have to go to the Most High Power that created us, that allows us to come together to interface with one another. I want to thank you guys for coming out and spending some time with me. These brothers came from long distances just so we can sit here and give this information to you, the people, for free. You know what I'm saying? Definitely, if you want to give them a shout out, do so as well. We'll have some more of them featured. Leave your comments below. And again, family, man, we doing this for you, man. I mean, we're on the front lines fighting against this evolutionary theory that's becoming the norm in society, that's becoming a norm in movies. I've seen this as a current theme in movies, man. I mean,
it's setting you up for what's coming, and we're going to get into that later.
Yep, predictive programming, and I think it's very, very crucial that we get the support of the people, so that way we can do conferences like that, so we can pull the rug from under them and actually reveal what the Most High has been trying to tell them for the longest, and bring them to a point of accountability that they're trying to escape. So we want to say all praises to the Most High. This is DivineProspect with Kingdom Harmony Ministries, another production. Thank my brothers again. We're signing off. Shalom, y'all. Peace.